Today's A+ question has to do with weighted averages. Here we have a situation where there are 4 test scores, but each are weighted differently to affect the overall grade. So it says this: Shannon's test scores were 70, 80, 80, and 90. What was her weighted average if the tests are weighted 1, 3, 5, and 4 in that order? So the thing to understand is that each of these test scores has a different value as it affects the overall score. So it's like this first test score with a weight of 1, it's like it counts as just one test. But when we go to the second test score with a weight of 3, that test score acts as if it is 3 tests worth, or at least 3 times the impact that it's going to have on the overall grade. Next, we look at the third test score with a weight of 5, and that is like having 5 tests at this rate. And then finally the last one, a score of 90 with a weight of 4, is like it's worth 4 tests at 90. So what we could do is then add them up and divide just like we would with averages. Being careful though that instead of adding them up and dividing by 4, because that's how many tests we actually took, we actually add them up and divide by 13. And that's because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 weighted items. It's like there are 13 items because of the way that the 4 items were weighted. So we could just add these up and divide by 13, or we can actually see another formula that we can use that will see the connection between the original problem anyway. We could take the 70, since there's 1 of them, or it's weighted as 1, its value in the overall weighted average is going to be 70 times 1. We can add that to our second test of 80, which is weighted at 3. That's these 3 right here. We say that its value is actually 3 times as much as 80, or 80 times 3, which is 240. The third test, which was an 80% test, but weighted at 5, those 5 80s can be 80 times 5. And then finally the 90s, which is weighted at 4, has a value of 90 times 4. And when we add all of those pieces together, the 70, the 3 80s, the 5 more 80s, and the 4 90s, we're going to divide by the total number of weighted things, or the total number of weights, which is going to be 13. We would take 70 plus 240 plus 400 plus 360. We divide that by 13, and that's going to be equal to 1070 out of 13, or over 13, which is approximately equal to 82.3. If we would have done just a straight average of the test scores, 70 plus 80 plus 80 plus 90, and divided it by 4, if we were doing a non-weighted average, we would of course get 320 over 4, which is 80. But we see that by weighting it, by making some of these higher scored tests weighted more, or impacting the overall test more, that it actually boosts our average. So the more a test is weighted, the more it affects the overall weighted average. And we find the weighted average by taking each test score multiplied by its weight and divided by the total of all of the weights. And there you go.